welcome to the A to Z YouTube channel. I'm Toby Allen and I'm in charge of the songwriting, producing and engineering side of things. Today we're going to be trying out the new STL Tonality Josh Middleton plugin. So it's STL Tone's been working on this for over a year, closely with Josh Middleton to create a plugin that simulates his three main go-to amps from his extensive collection. If we click over here, we can see that it is a 5150 block letter amplifier, the tried and true. Amp 2 is based on a PV Triple X, and Amp 3 is based on a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier multi-watt. So that's what we've got going on with the amps. We've also got a few cabs as well from Josh's collection. We've got some of his pedals from his collection as well. So we're going to be looking at all the features that are included in this plugin. As usual, we're going to be using the Vikings IR from Gurn Digital, which is my favorite one, just to give you some consistency across the channel. We will also be talking about the cabinets on here as well. We're going to be looking at all the pedals and features and blah blah blah. Then after we've had a look at all the features on this one, we're also going to do some sound comparisons between this and Josh Middleton's Tone Hub pack, which in my opinion is one of the top 3 Tone Hub packs. It's a very, very good one. We're also going to be looking a little bit at Amp Hub as well to see what this offers that Amp Hub doesn't. You might think there's a bit of crossover, a bit of sort of overlap between them, and perhaps there is, and that's what we're going to investigate and find out as well. Have a look at the timestamps below. If you feel like there's anything that you're not particularly interested in, skip past it by all means, and just get to the bits that you're really interested in and want to find out more about. I wouldn't call this a sponsored video because I've not been asked to make this video. I've not been given this to make the video. I'm actually been beta testing this, so I've been helping out with finding bugs and all that kind of fun stuff, making sure it all works fine. So that's how I've got it. They didn't ask me to make a video, they didn't ask me to say anything about this, so everything I'm saying here is my own opinion. As always, I only ever do reviews and walkthroughs on stuff I like, so the fact that it's on the channel, you can see straight away I'm gonna love it. So spoiler alert. The other thing I'm doing, so we've got the IRs the same across the whole channel. We're using the same one. I'm also, as always, using the same guitar, which is a Schecter Jeff Loomis from 2014. This is the Mark II. It has an EMG 57.7 in the bridge. Brand new strings on here, the NYXL 64 to 9.5. I think that's everything covered I need to talk about. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe as well. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to remind you again at the end. And let's have a quick dig in and check out the plugin. Let's just go methodically through all the buttons on here. First off, we've got here where you can resize the graphic user interface. You've got here you can change your presets. Over here you can choose your tempo and you can tap the tempo. You've got routing here between mono stereo and stereo, and you can lock that, so if you change preset that will stay the same, rather than like having to change preset, oh I've got to change back to stereo, oh change preset, I've got to change back to stereo, which I know some people get really irritated by. I always use it in mono because I'm only ever using one guitar at a time through it, but you know, I could see that being an annoyance. We've got the user manual here. Over at the bottom, you've got your input. You've also got your input calibration, so you can just basically do a bit of chugs and it will calibrate it for you. Then you've got your noise gate, your tuner, and of course you can change your reference on here. You've got your stomp boxes. And within stomp boxes, we have a compressor, a pitch shifter. So it's just an octave up, an octave down, and you can blend in your dry signal in there as well. Then you've got Overdrive 1, which is based on the Fortin Tempest, which is really cool because it's got a high pass and a low pass on here rather than a tone. And rather than having like, you've got some who've got like a bass and a treble, this is actually a bass cut and a treble cut. So that's pretty cool. I like that. It gives you a lot of, it allows you to help control what's going into the front of the amp and make it really, really tight, which is lovely. Then we've got here another overdrive, which has got your standard drive balance and tone on it. So that is essentially like Tube Screamer or something similar. Then we've got the amps themselves. Then we have the cabinets. As I said, I've got an IR load up one here, but you have a choice of different cabinets. You've got a 2000 and a 2001 Mr. Oversized. You've also got a British 1960 with a G12 VH in the top left and a V30 in the top right. Each one of those has got 4 mics. I think this is really cool because first off, when you're miking up a real cab, Normally, the optimal tone comes from the top speakers, but each speaker has a different sound to it. So you could have a cabinet with 4 different V30s in it that are all made on the same day that sound potentially differently because of different like manufacturing tolerances and stuff. So the fact you've got the option there to choose between the top left and the top right, and top left and top right on these is really cool. I really like that. It gives you extra tonal options. Then you've also got your distance, angle, high pass filter, low pass filter, and resonance, which is your standard for STL IR loading and STL cab sims. You'll recognise these from amp hubs, very similar. Then you've got the effects over here. You've got a parametric equalizer, a delay pedal, and a reverb pedal. Then you've got your MIDI, so it allows you to use a MIDI controller to control the presets. So if you want to use this live, you can have a MIDI controller to switch to your next preset. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up a preset I made. First off, I'm just going to change the IR. This preset I made is called wraak live because I was supposed to play a gig last week. I unfortunately didn't play it because I was ill, but I was going to use this plugin as my tones. I changed the IR because I used an IR based on the one I used for my album tone, but I've changed it over to the one that we use for testing out amp sims. I should probably calibrate this. Alright, so I've got the input calibrated and it sounds like this. Right, so now what I'm going to do is going to run through the controls, just try moving them around and see what happens to the tone so you can hear exactly what the controls are doing. Alright, there we go. So that's amp 1, which does sound really great. There's like a real guttural kind of oomph to it that I really like. So let's move over to amp 2, just make sure we're still on the same cab. We are still on the same cab, and we are still on the same stomp box as well. So let's just dial through some sounds on this one. Got the clean. Let's turn the stomp box off, and we shall just try the clean. That's enough of that, and we should change the channel to crunch. So there's a switch over here for damping, which I believe is something to do with the way that it reacts to the speaker stopping from moving. I'm not hugely familiar with the Triple X, so please correct me if I'm wrong. So let's just chug and switch that switch and see how it sounds. I think I prefer the sound of that on the mid setting. Let's try the Ultra. That is insane. That's like way more gain than you need. That does sound really good. It's got a very, very different character to it, even though it's still a PV amp to the other one, which is the 5150. So that's really cool. So let's try amp 3. Wow. That one is actually making my desk rattle. Let's just bring the master down a tad. So you can see there, that is the raw, vintage, and modern modes. Change over to channel 2, which is the orange channel. Quite a bit drier, really nice, but I feel like the saturation of the red channel is just whoa. Although, hang on, we're on the vintage mode. Let's try modern. A little bit too much presence and treble on there for me. So this is the clean channel. Obviously with the boost in front, but that's fine. Let's just turn that boost off because that's a little bit ridiculous. But over to clean. Yeah, so there we go. That's amp 3. Sounding pretty sick as well. What I'm going to just do is going to go through some of the presets, which will of course use the built-in cabs, and obviously Josh has spent a lot more time dialing these in than I have, just messing about right now. So let's just hear. I'm going to do the first preset for each amp on the rhythm section, just do a few chugs and hear how they sound. Alright, there we go. So let's just have a quick look at the cabinet. And I'm just going to move the microphone around a little bit so you can hear how that sounds. And then lastly, let's have a quick look at the effects. So this has got the equalizer on. This equalizer off. Delay. Reverb. This is, again, let's just check out some dialed in tones. So we've got clean ambience. Sounds pretty great, yep. So I'm just going to go back. All right, now what I'm going to do is we're just going to cut backwards and forwards between Tonality Josh Middleton with amp 1, which is 5150, with these settings here, with the Stomp Box Overdrive 2 on these standard settings here, using the same IR. And we're going to flip back and forth between this and Amp Hub with the Meridian 65 which is the 6505. Nearest equivalent we've got to a block letter 5150. Obviously, it's not exactly the same, so it's not quite apples to apples test, but just to give you an idea of whether there is much of an overlap between Josh Middleton Tonality and Amp Hub. So, make of that what you will. We're going to try the same thing with the Josh Middleton and Amp Hub. This time we're going to be using Amp 2, which is the PV-XXX, and we're going to be trying Amp Hub with the PV-JSX, which is called Meridian XSR. Not exactly the same amp, very, very close. We're using the same IR, which is Vikings. We're going to be using the same stomp box, which is based on a Tube Scream. I'm using Maxon OD808 over on Amp Hub. Same riffs. So yeah, there's some differences. We're going to change over to the... Okay, so then we'll try the same thing again with Amp 3. I've loaded up a Josh preset, changed the stomp box to be same, and changed the cabinets to be the same. And we're going to switch between this and the dual wraak that's in Amp Hub. Alright, so there's your comparison between the Amp Hub and Josh Middleton. There's definitely some very noticeable differences between those. Again, they're not the same, exactly the same amps. I don't believe this is the same Rev dual wraak as the one that's in Josh Middleton, and the other two amps aren't actually the same. So there's a little bit of crossover, but I feel like there's still some reason why you'd want to get this if you're already using Amp Hub. Also, the Force and Tempest is very, very cool. So let's just dial that in and hear how that sounds. So let's put it on and dime the live, dime the level, and then we'll go for no high pass. Let's turn the high pass and the low pass off. So on this setting here, the high pass is on the setting with the most amount of low end coming through. So you see how much that tightens it up. That goes in like there. I think it's too much. But you know, if you're doing the D word, then that could be useful. And then the low. How it shaves that treble off. So if you've got too much, if your pickups are too bright or the amp's too bright, then or you're just doing some like really high like lead and chords and stuff that are just cutting through too much and being a bit too brittle, then that's ideal for that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some of the Josh Middleton stuff on Tone Hub. Oh yeah, no, if you go here to the microphone, you can see that it's telling you which speaker is mic'd up. So this is top right and top left. This is probably the closest we can get to something that's in the tonality. There's the Marshall. And then if we go through, we've got the triple X. So rather than me telling you which one I think you should have out of those three, I thought the best thing to do is to actually give you a little sound sample between those. And I think the best thing to do is to trial them and see what you think. I think there is absolutely some great benefit to having any of those. What I will say though is that since the amp sim tier list came out, my top 5 amp sims have changed. I think the amp sim tier list is probably going to be an annual thing, so I'm probably going to be doing another one of those at the end of the year. And what my top 5 is right now will probably be different to what my top 5 will be then, because there'll be new stuff on the market. But essentially, my top 5 in no particular order right now is Tone X by IK, Josh Middleton Tonality by STL Tones, Amp Hub by STL Tones, ML Amped Oracle, and Bogren Digital Amp Knob Rev C. Those are my top 5. If I could only have 5 amp sims, those are the 5 I would choose. And yes, there's no neural DSP in that list, and I don't know how I feel about that. I guess the answer to that is neural DSP, your move. If you like what you've seen, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and of course, as always, that subscription button is the enemy, and it must be whipped into submission. See you next time.